There was a summer when you were about 8 that lasted 1,000 years. You remember the shape of it, the particular boredom of 3 in the afternoon when there was nothing to do and no real prospect of anything ever happening again. The smell of pavement after rain. Somebody's mother calling somebody's name 2 gardens over. And September was so far away it was basically theoretical, a rumor, something adults mentioned to frighten you. That summer was 6 weeks long. 6 weeks. Last year took about 9 minutes. Everybody over 30 has said this out loud, usually in a kitchen, usually in December. How is it October? I know. No, how is it October? And there's a standard answer to that. You've heard it. It sounds clever, it's been going around for 150 years, and there's a very good chance it's wrong. We'll get to it. Start with the part everyone agrees on. Something has gone missing, and nobody can tell you where. Are we there yet? We left 8 minutes ago. Now, he isn't being annoying. That's the thing nobody realizes about that question. He isn't winding you up. He's reporting. For him, 8 minutes in the back of that car was genuinely long. Long enough to finish with the window and the seatbelt and his own hand and reach the end of everything there was to think about. You've forgotten what that was like. You've forgotten so completely that you now find it irritating. Nobody has ever been more honest than a child in the back of a car. And here's the part worth sitting with. He is not being given more time than you. 40 minutes for both of you. Same road, same car, same 40 minutes. Only one of you is going to keep it. Follow a 4-year-old through an ordinary Tuesday and count the things that have never happened to them before. A lift. The doors close by themselves and then the room moves. A dog the size of a horse. Rain going sideways. A man with a beard, which is a thing faces can apparently do. The word appointment, which means nothing, and which is apparently the reason for everything today. 40 of them. 50. On a completely unremarkable Tuesday, in a town where nothing happens. Now count yours. Your last ordinary Tuesday. Honestly, how many things happened that had never happened before? And that isn't a criticism. That's what a functioning adult life looks like. You built that routine deliberately, and it took years. And it's the reason you can hold a job and get 4 people out of the door by 8 in the morning. It's an enormous achievement. Nobody mentioned what it costs. So, the standard explanation. When you're 5, a year is a 1/5 of everything you have ever lived. At 50, it's a 50th. Each year is a thinner slice of a bigger pie. So each year feels smaller. It's elegant. It's the one your uncle tells you. It was first proposed in the 1870s, which is to say, by somebody with no possible way of testing it. This year, somebody did test it. If that theory were right, then the thing that predicts a fast-feeling decade should be how much life you've got stacked up behind you. It isn't. People with rich, crowded, vivid pasts don't report time running faster. In that study, the older participants recalled their lives more vividly, not less. What predicted it was something else entirely, and it wasn't the size of the archive. It was how much new material was still going in, which means the answer was never behind you. It's about what's still being written. Do this now. It takes 10 seconds and it works on almost everybody. Name your 5 most vivid memories. Not the most important, not the ones you'd list at a funeral, the most vivid. The ones with weather in them, where you can smell the room. Now check when they happened. If you're over about 35, a lot of them will sit in a band somewhere between roughly 10 and 30. This shows up across countries and across languages, and it has a name in the research, although, honestly, where the edges of that band fall depends a great deal on how you ask the question. Ask people for important events and you get one range. Give them random word cues and you get another. But the hump is there in study after study. Ask a 70-year-old for their clearest memories, and a surprising amount of what comes back is a 19-year-old's diary. Now, be careful with this, because it's a step people take too fast. This is not, by itself, an explanation of why time speeds up. It's a fact about where memories cluster, not a measurement of how fast anything felt. But put it next to the summer, and it's pointing somewhere. Your life is not recorded evenly. There's a stretch near the beginning that took up an enormous amount of the tape. Look at what's in that stretch. The first time you left home. The first flat with the carpet and the boiler and the housemate. The first job with a real contract and a real chair. The first time somebody died. The first time you understood that your parents had been improvising the entire way through. First love. First betrayal. The first time you were properly medically frightened. It isn't privileged because you were young and could drink. It's privileged because almost nothing in it had a template. Every week contained something that had to be worked out from scratch, because there was nothing already on file to compare it to. By 35, you have a template for nearly everything, which is efficient. And it is a completely different kind of week to live through, which explains something people notice and feel quietly guilty about. The friends from 19 are load-bearing. You cannot see them for 4 years and pick up mid-sentence. The genuinely lovely people you met at 39 are not that. You like them enormously. You'd help them move house. It isn't the same. Everybody knows it isn't the same. Nobody says so. It isn't loyalty. People weren't better then. It's shooting schedule. At 19, you were filming 18 hours a day, same location, same cast, 4 years straight. At 39, you get 90 minutes on a Thursday, twice a year, and one of you always has to leave early. Here's what everybody says about the car crash. It went into slow motion. Millions of people, every country, every language, for as long as anybody's bothered asking. So somebody set out to find whether that was true. And to find out, he had to genuinely frighten people. Roller coasters weren't enough. Roller coasters, it turns out, are not frightening enough to bend time. So he found a thing where you get dropped backwards off a platform 15 stories up into a net. And to each person's wrist, he strapped a small screen. On the screen, numbers flashing just slightly too fast for that particular person to read. Measured individually beforehand for every single one of them. And the logic is beautiful. If time really slows down, if you genuinely get more of the world per second, then the numbers slow down too. And you can read them. They fell 100 feet, 3 seconds, and they could not read the numbers, not one of them. No better than standing still on the ground. Then they landed. And the researchers asked how long the fall had taken, and every one of them judged their own fall to have lasted about a third longer than they judged everybody else's. Nothing slowed down. Nothing was ever going to slow down. The fall took exactly as long as a fall takes. What changed was the account of it written afterwards. Now that's 3 seconds, in a harness, with adrenaline. It is not a study about decades, and nobody should pretend it is. But it establishes one thing very cleanly, and the rest of this film needs it. How long something was and how long something felt are 2 separate numbers, and they are produced by 2 different machines. Because there are 2 completely different questions hiding inside the words "how long." The first is, how long does this feel right now while it's happening? And that one runs mostly on attention, specifically attention to time itself. Watch the clock and the afternoon swells. Get absorbed in something and it's suddenly dark outside. You already know this one. It's why the last 20 minutes of a shift take longer than the first 4 hours. The second question is completely different. How long does a period seem when you turn around and look at it? And that one isn't running on attention at all. It's assembled afterwards, out of memory, and out of one thing in particular. Not how much you enjoyed it, not how hard you concentrated. How much changed. How many distinct pieces there were. How many times the scenery moved. And here's what matters. Those two systems routinely disagree. Not always, this isn't a law, but often, and often in exactly opposite directions. Which means the sentence, "time is going quickly," is ambiguous, and always has been, and almost nobody has ever noticed. Because it might mean this afternoon is flying, or it might mean I turned around and a decade was gone. Those are not the same complaint, and only one of them is what this film is actually about. You've done that journey about 1,800 times. Describe one. Not the route, you know the route. A specific morning. Any one of them. Pick one. What did you do last week? I genuinely don't know. There is nothing wrong with you. Nothing was filed because nothing needed filing. Your memory is not a documentary crew. It's a night editor with limited tape and one standing instruction. If we've already got this, don't shoot it again. 11,000 photographs. Scroll it. Really scroll it. It's the same room, over and over. The same four walls, everyone slightly older, and nothing else moving at all. A year of your life, and about 4 days of it are recognizable. And you'll say, where did it go? It didn't go anywhere. It was never picked up. And then everybody on Earth ran the experiment at the same time. This is the part where you're expecting me to say the days crawled and the year vanished. That is what a lot of people remember. It is not what the studies found, and what they did find is stranger and more useful. When researchers asked people during it, day after day, a great many reported that the days and weeks were going by faster than normal. And when they asked about the whole stretch afterwards, a great many said it had lasted longer than usual. It also didn't happen the same way to everyone. And the thing that predicted which way it went more than anything else was not routine. It was mood, boredom. How much of it somebody spent alone. The people who were struggling most are the ones for whom time was slowest. And for some of them, that feeling didn't leave when the restrictions did. But there's one thing almost everybody has. You remember March. That first week, vividly, the empty shelves, the strange silence, the exact place you were standing. And then the middle of it is a smooth gray nothing. Same year, same person. One end sharp, the rest wiped. Here's the version you've had yourself. A week somewhere unfamiliar goes past in about 10 minutes. You're on the plane home thinking, that's it? And then it takes up more room in your memory than the whole month before it. Now the other one. A week of ordinary work drags. Wednesday alone is geological, and afterwards there is nothing there at all. That isn't a paradox, and it isn't a curiosity. That's the two clocks running in opposite directions in the same 7 days. The holiday was short to live because you weren't watching the time, and it's long to remember because everything in it changed. The office week was long to live because you were watching the clock all afternoon, and it's gone from the record because nothing in it moved. Every good week you've ever had felt fast and remembers long. Almost nobody has ever pointed that out. There was a last time you picked up your child. Not the last time that week, the last time. You lifted them, and you put them down, and you never did it again, and neither of you noticed, because it was a Tuesday and there was something in the oven. There was a last time you played outside until it went dark. A last time your father carried you upstairs asleep. A last time all four of you sat at that table with nobody missing and nobody late. A last time that somebody who is now a stranger was the first person you told things to. None of them had a ceremony. Nothing in your body flagged it. There was no music. It was an ordinary afternoon in ordinary light, and you were probably slightly annoyed about something else entirely. Everything that ends in a life ends without an announcement. You were there for every single one of them. You just weren't told. Now some arithmetic. This isn't neuroscience, it's just a sum. It's worse. Say your parents are 70. Say you see them, honestly, not the version where you're a better son than you actually are, twice a year. Christmas and a few days in the summer. Say, optimistically, 15 more years. That is not 15 years. That's about 30 more afternoons. 30. Every remaining hour you will ever spend with the people who raised you would fit inside a single month. And there's a harder version underneath it. If you moved out at 19, then most of your total lifetime hours with them are already spent. Not because anybody's ill, not because anything went wrong, because the arithmetic finished quietly years ago while you were busy. And nothing sends a notification. The years didn't speed up. They just stopped being spent on the things that get written down. 32. Same kitchen. Good light in the mornings. You'll do the trip next year. Work's mad at the moment. Next year, definitely. There's a list somewhere on your phone. It's a good list. And the year is fine. Genuinely fine. Nothing goes wrong in it at all. 36. Same kitchen. Next summer. Once this project lands, you call your mother on Sundays. Most Sundays. It's a good call. It's 20 minutes. That was 3 years. It felt like about 8 months. 41. Same kitchen. When the kids are older. You saw her at Christmas. She's smaller than she was. You noticed and you didn't say anything. 4 years. 47. When work calms down. Work does not calm down. Work has never calmed down for anybody, anywhere in the history of work. 6 years. 53. The kitchen. The light in the mornings is still good, and that's where the list is. Everybody's answer to this is the same, and it's nearly useless. Do more exciting things. Travel more. Learn an instrument. Say yes to things. It half works. It costs money most people don't have, and underneath it there's an insult, that an ordinary life is a life that doesn't count. So look again at what actually got recorded. The 3 seconds off that platform weren't written down because they were novel. Plenty of new things go straight through a person and leave nothing. You can visit a cathedral and remember the car park. Those seconds were written because for 3 seconds, nobody up there was anywhere else. And now I have to be careful with you, because this is exactly the point where a film like this normally starts making promises. Nobody has shown that paying more attention makes a life feel longer when you look back on it. That study hasn't been done. It may not be doable. What the evidence actually says is narrower. Looking back, we judge time by how much changed. The rest of what follows isn't a finding. It's just what a reasonable person might do with the finding. Not travel. Something a great deal cheaper. A conversation with the phone in another room, not face down on the table, in another room. You'll remember that conversation. You do not remember the last 40. A different road home, once a week, for no reason. 3 lines at the end of a day. Not a diary. Nobody is asking you to keep a diary. 3 lines, because writing something down is, quite literally, writing it down. None of that will make you happier this evening. It might make this year less smooth when you turn around and look at it, which is a strange thing to be offered, and it's roughly what there is. Tomorrow will be a Tuesday, or something close enough. You'll make the coffee the way you make the coffee. You'll take the road you take. You'll have a conversation you won't remember and a small irritation you'll have forgotten by 3. And unless something happens, that day will not survive. Not tragically. There's nothing wrong with it. It simply won't be written, and in 9 years there'll be a smooth gray place where it was. You are, right now, inside a stretch of your life that you will one day describe as having gone by very fast. This one, this year, the one you're in, the one that feels completely normal. There was a last day of that summer, the one that lasted 1,000 years. There was an evening in early September when you came in from the garden, and that was the end of it. And you were 8, and you were there for it. You don't remember it, because nobody told you it was the last one. Nobody ever tells you.